What is a Mason? I am.
Thank you, brother. My name is Jared, and I am a Master Mason in the state of Mississippi in the United States of America. And this is the bicentennial tie for the state of Mississippi. We're going to have our next annual communication here pretty shortly, so I want to make sure we show that off just a time or two more before. I really like it. That's done by Edgar over at Masonic Revival. Here we are in the Master Masons degree, and I told you that we were going to talk about a song, and I promised you that I would not sing, and I will hold that promise. So this is one of those things that I learned a little bit earlier in my Masonic career was not the same thing in every single jurisdiction. And I guess that sort of really made me want to know what other jurisdictions do more than several other things, because I just didn't understand, well, what other song would be used here, or maybe there's not a song at all. I could see more clearly how there could be no song than a different song. So I'm not a historian. Y'all have seen enough of my videos to know that. But I'm just going to tell you what I do know and some interesting information. So here in the state of Mississippi, we sing a song known as Hark from the Tomb. And we sing it to the tune of Auld Lang Syne. Now, what I have learned is that we might be in the majority. I think that's fairly common. I don't have a representation from just a vast source of Grand Lodges, but I think that at least most jurisdictions are familiar with that song and sung to that tune. There's also another very common one called Solemn Strikes the Funeral Chime. And I'm going to say this wrong. Brethren, we're not in Lodge. Don't ding me too hard for mispronunciations. But Pleyel's hymn? Someone, I don't know. Maybe you can spell it phonetically for me and help me out on that. But Pleyel's hymn, I'm just going to keep saying it that way, and y'all just have to laugh along with me. I know to be something that I see reference to in older works. And I'll get back to that in just a minute. There's a couple other things that brethren were telling me are used in their lodges, and a couple of these are songs I had never even heard of. So here's something interesting. Mozart, who was a Freemason, the Golden or Magic Flute, Amazing Grace. I could see how Amazing Grace can work in this situation. Abide with Me. I can see how that sits with me. And then this one really came out of left field. And if it, you know, I of course, when somebody tells me something online, if I don't know you to be a brother, then forgive me if I raise an eyebrow and question whether or not what I'm reading is from a Mason or not. But then several people came back and replied and said, yes, I've heard that in Lodge as well. A song called The Sun Died. Never heard of it before. Sorry, Ray Charles fans and whoever else may have made this song a hit, but The Sun Died. And I've read the lyrics and I've listened to Ray sing it, and I just don't get it. I don't know why in the world this is being used in a lodge, but maybe the degree is done in just a bit different of a way that makes me understand it better. So, you know, in context, it might make a lot of sense. So, brethren, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you shouldn't be using it, or that it's wrong, or it's a bad song, or that you're not real Masons or anything crazy like that. I'm just saying it's really hard for somebody outside of your jurisdiction to understand how this really fits. So it'd be interesting. One day, I'm going to get down there and I'm going to see this. My understanding is you're going to find it in some Louisiana lodges. Maybe there's others. So there you are. Now, before we go too much further, I know we lose some people the longer the video goes. So if you have a specific song and you know what tune that song is sung to, please leave it down below in the comments, because I'd really like to learn more about this. I think this is a very interesting thing that we have such a wide variety of different songs and music accompaniment being used in lodges. So please share it down below. Okay, so I told you I would share something interesting about Mississippi. Now, I don't have anything from when Mississippi's Grand Lodge was first founded about what was used in a lodge. So the textbook that we use came several generations later, and in there we can find the Hark from the Tomb that we're using now, and a couple of other references, and our current textbook does as well. But what I thought was interesting is that I gave a presentation at our bicentennial regarding a time capsule that was from a cornerstone in the first Grand Lodge building, which was in Natchez, Mississippi. And in that time capsule, there's a list of the procession, the order of procession for going to where the cornerstone was going to be laid. And it is, now, of course, I have to put in this caveat. I'm not trying to claim that I've been through every book in our Grand Lodge or anything like that, but it's the only place I've seen Pleyel's hymn specifically listed out as going to be used. Now, what's interesting about this is as I understand it, saying Pleyel's hymn is like saying Auld Lang Syne or saying America. You know, there's many, many, many songs that are sung to the tunes of those songs. So you can sit there and think of the tune America in your mind, but then you can think of a dozen other songs that are sung to that tune. And the same with Auld Lang Syne. Obviously, there's the Auld Lang Syne, but then we have Hark from the Tomb and so many others. So my understanding is that that's the same with Pleyel's hymn. So I don't know if at the procession to go lay the cornerstone that they would have sung Solemn Strikes the Funeral Chime. That doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know if they were singing a more traditional Pleyel's hymn, something that would have been more of an actual hymn, maybe something a little more, not that Solemn Strikes the Funeral Chime isn't uplifting in its own way, but something that maybe would have been a little more uplifting. I don't know. But the thing that I found interesting was that that's the only time where I know written down that we have a record of that song being sung in Mississippi, or that tune being sung in Mississippi. Every other reference I have personally run across is the Hark from the Tomb. And to me, and I don't think this is a bad thing necessarily, but it shows that Masonry does innovate. Things do change. People do start to feel a preference for one way or another. They hear it differently somewhere else, and they like that. And the correct people, the right influential Masons in an area, bring that in, and things evolve over time. So for right or wrong, it does happen. And now we have Hark from the Tomb here in Mississippi. So now that we've really beaten that down, let's actually talk about the words in Hark from the Tomb. So I'm about to do a reading of Hark from the Tomb, the lyrics that are used here in Mississippi, but I'm not going to read them as they're sung. And what I mean by that is there are some lines that are repeated for the benefit of the accompaniment that it goes with. I'm just going to read them as if it were a poem. So this isn't going to be prose. I am going to read it in meter and rhyme, but I'm not going to repeat the stanzas that would cause it to become the song, if you will. So I'm sure you can look up the lyrics somewhere else if you want to get down into the dirty details. But in a reading, repeating the lines just doesn't work out. So here in the state of Mississippi, the words for Hark from the Tomb, traditionally sung to Auld Lang Syne, goes like this. Hark from the tomb, a doleful sound, my ears attend the cry. Ye living men, come view the ground where you must shortly lie. Princes, this clay must be your bed, in spite of all your towers. The tall, the wise, the reverend head must lie as low as ours. Great God, is this our certain doom, and are we still secure? Still walking downward toward the tomb, and yet prepare no more. Grant us the power of quickening grace to fit our souls to fly. Then when we drop this dying flesh, we'll rise above the sky. Now, I think it's worth mentioning that I don't believe I've ever heard every single verse sung in Lodge, but I will not disclose which verses are sung just for good measure. But that is the full song, and I would love to hear it sung properly by people who can sing well at some point. I would really love to hear a good recording of that, and I'm working in the background trying to get some brothers to maybe help me out and do that, and contacts of contacts sort of thing. So maybe one day we'll get a really nice recording of it. I've also had people share with me other links they've found for like Pleyel's hymn, and they're just terrible recordings. And I would love to get all of these down for, I don't know, just for good measure. It just would make me feel good to know we have these recordings. So if you use something in particular, please share it down below. I'm talking about linking to where you can find a good recording of what your jurisdiction uses. I think it would just be beneficial to everybody to sort of share that information around. So there we are, the song that is used in Mississippi. And next we're going to talk about a prayer that is recited. And there is a lot to tear apart in that. So come back and we'll talk about the prayer in the Master Masons degree next time. Thanks to everybody who's taken the time to watch, and especially a big thank you to all those who help support the show, whether through purchasing a pin or through donations via PayPal or becoming patrons over at Patreon. You can find more information about all of those down in the video description below. We'll see you next time. Bye.